Welcome to the NiFTy Chicks. In this episode, we chat with Leah Sams, founder of Power of Women. Leah is an award-winning British-Malaysian illustrator who got her start in NFTs in 2020. She discusses how art, fashion, and technology unite through the Power of Women NFT. Let's do this. Welcome to the NiFTy Chicks. Super excited to have Leah Ibrahim Sams with Power of Women here with us today. Welcome to the NiFTy Chicks, Leah.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here. We've been trying to get you on the show for a few months and our schedules just have been not working out for each other, but excited to have you here now.
We're finally here.
I know.
Aligned. I'm here, and we can have a nice, lovely chat.
So I love your story of that you were, working in set and costume design, and then 2020 COVID happened and you were like, okay, everything shut down. What am I going to do now? And I want to hear like how you went from that to NFTs. Did you already know about NFTs, or did everything shut down and you're like, what am I going to do? And then you found out about NFTs. Give us a little background on that.
Yeah. I mean, I love this story because I just don't think I could have written it myself. But basically, like me alongside a lot of my friends in theatre, we just like lost our work overnight. I mean, this would be 6 months in advance of work being booked in, and we just like lost overnight. And all of my friends and I were just trying to find a way to stay creative. And I discovered illustration. And I sort of haven't looked back really. I fell in love with, being able to control the way that my creative process, because like running up to this point, I kept on, I felt like I was facilitating someone else's creative ideas and someone else's dreams. So for the first time, I felt ownership over my own art process, my craft, my sort of like what I wanted to do. And that was so empowering. And at the same time, my husband, who was also in theatre, shifted careers to become a firefighter. So we were both in this process of transitioning. I was trying to sort of build a creative style. I was and discovered sort of like drawing women and drawing powerful women in beautiful fashion. And basically started trying to figure out what it was like to be a freelance illustrator, doing commissions, selling on Etsy, not being so successful at it. But my husband happened to fall into his first firefighting crew, and they were obsessed with NFTs and crypto. So it was really, really funny that it was actually his shift in career that actually got us down the Web3 rabbit hole. And we basically were like, well, what is this? But he basically had all of my artwork on his phone, and finally he was showing it to his to these 5 very burly male firefighters, and they were flicking through images of like portraits of women being very like, some of them were quite feminine, very colorful, like everything to do with fashion. And they were like, yeah, I'd buy that as an NFT. And me and my husband like, what's an NFT? And so we decided to just like mint a first collection without knowing anything about blockchain technology, not knowing really what NFT was. And 2 years later, here we are.
Here we are.
Wow.
And you've been very successful in what you've done. So just to give everybody a little background on what Leah's done. So over 400 ETH, which is, and I'm not sure where it is today or when this number was, but around 750 to a million approximately. You've been exhibited at ADIDAS. You're an NFT.NYC Award winner. You partnered with Man City. And now you're doing stuff with Layer and Coinbase. So in fact, it's dropping today, right? The new collab.
Yes,
so that's cool. Today, in the day that we're recording, not the day that this is actually going to air. So you'll be able to will it be available for purchase
It is. So
later, or how's the drop happening, I guess?
the drop is and I would need to double check this, but it is a 7-day open edition
Okay.
at 0.005 ETH, which is around about $10. And it's happening on Layer, and it's a sort of like Layer and Coinbase are collaborating to basically just have lots of awesome artwork being celebrated while the Miami Art Basel is happening. So I think it's just like, it's really, really lovely. There are some awesome, awesome artists doing, having some incredible editions this week. So I'm just really super pleased to be part of this sort of like awesome, I don't know, awesome vibe that is sort of Miami and Art Basel. And I just wish I was there.
I know. We were talking about this before we hit record. I was there last year. And now that I'm talking to you about it, I'm like, oh, now I'm kind of missing it.
Well, I definitely am, because London has very miserable weather at the moment, and I'm pretty
sure.
I'd love to be rocking my vintage car in summer clothes.
Right.
I love that. I love that. You know,
well,
Leah,
I've got
I have
the welcome to Miami up on the screen here, and let me just say that when I opened it up, I was like, oh my god, I love it. It's so good. It's so good. Like I'm gonna get one even though I'm not in Miami.
Oh, well, I think that's exactly it. I think it's just I would just drawing it, and I think if you were just to collect it, I think you just have a little bit of a slice of Miami, even though you might not be there. So I think that was the whole point.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's great. That's great. You know, Leah, I'm curious because it sounds like so easy for you, the transition that you made. You were just like, what I heard you just say is like, made a career change and then launched my first collection. Like, talk to me about the learning curve that you experienced, because for many of us, like you said, you didn't have any idea of what the blockchain. How did you educate yourself on kind of what an NFT was and how to even launch? What was that learning curve like?
Well, I mean, yeah, no, that's a really good question, because I think there is a lot of barriers to entry at the moment, especially if you may not be tech savvy. I am really, really lucky that my husband has been supporting me throughout this entire journey. And Power of Women is made of me and my husband, and then other people sort of coming in to sort of like help on different projects. But yeah, no, it's been a bit of a learning curve, and it's a huge learning curve, especially when we came in, and we came in sort of like at the, I think it was sort of like September of 2020. This was, or 2021, and basically this was sort of like we were seeing the rise of like female artists and female sort of entrepreneurship coming into the industry. And a lot of us were going, well, excuse me, this industry has been here for a while, but why are we only just seeing female representation in the space? And where is all of the other sort of like diverse groups? Where are the minority groups? Where is the representation here? And so there was a huge learning curve for a lot of us, like sort of female artists, diverse artists, feeling like we're having to catch up. And I think I've been really lucky that, because my husband and I were in lockdown together, we were together all the time and we were staying creative. And I think what really helps with our relationship is that in theatre, he was what you call the sort of technical side, and you would call what I do as sort of like the creative side, and those two sort of like departments work together. So we knew the language that that sort of exists, I think, in any company that involves a sort of creative element and a very sort of like logistical element. So we were really quick to sort of learn the language of how to build Power of Women as a brand, but also how to, we would be learning from each other. Oh, I saw this. Oh, I saw this. Oh, that's interesting. We were learning not just on social media through Twitter Spaces, and through Discord, how can we do this and how can we do that? But we all were also learning from each other. So I think that's why we were so so quick, I think, to pick everything up. And also it was baptism by fire. London at the time was like catching up to the US in terms of its, in terms of like having professionals who were in the NFT or blockchain industry or Web3 industry. And so I was like quickly snapped up to be on panels for women, educating women, or educating sort of like people in London who were interested. And yet I still don't know what I was talking about. So I still remember being on a panel and someone was explaining what an NFT was. And I was like, you what? Like, really?
That's amazing. I love that.
I was like, I shouldn't be on this panel. I should be listening to this panel. But I think, we were all learning. So there was not really anyone who was, like, I think there were very, very few people in the industry, very few people as well in London at that time who, could probably say, I am an expert. We were all learning. And, that was just, I don't know. I think it was just an acceptance that we were all students.
That's great.
Yeah, it is very interesting. I feel like this space, just blockchain, NFTs, crypto in general, nobody can really say they're an expert. I mean, you can know a little bit about a piece of it, but you can't know it all. There's too much, and it's constantly changing. Yeah.
And I think as well, at that time, there wasn't any sort of like official resources. Now we're starting to see a little bit more of projects going, actually, here's some free resources to educate the community. And I think, but yeah, we were all learning on Twitter Spaces. And I think before that, Clubhouses, and it's just like, it's mad, isn't it? That we're in an industry and all our information's coming from like shared stories. It's just.
Right. Yeah, like random conversations late night on Twitter.
Yeah.
When it was still Twitter. So speaking of that, if you like look back on the learning curve that you went on, what would you say to people that are maybe just now getting into NFTs? What would be like the most important thing or first thing that you would focus on understanding? I know that's a tough question because it's
interesting. I mean, if someone was coming in now, I think it would be very different from when you asked that question a year ago. I think, well, we were sort of coming out of a bull market, and I think my answer up to that point had always been the same, and it would be just, like, why are you here? What are you trying to do? Find people who are doing similar things to you and learn how they're doing it. I think when it comes to now, I think, there are less and less people who can sustain themselves through a market that, through the current market. And, what is your intention? Is your intention to be earning a living? Well, not a lot of people are earning a living in this sort of industry at the moment. If you are an artist, for example, it's very difficult. I think there's only like, the top caliber of artists maybe who are full-time Web3. There are a lot of artists out there who are diversifying, whether that's diversifying into traditional art spaces or commercial art spaces, or they've got a secondary job. And so, I think it would be, what is your intention? Are you here because you are interested in the technology? Well, that's great. Here are some resources. If you are interested in, another way to sell your art and diversifying the way, if you're an artist, diversifying the way your income streams, well, that's great. But for example, where is your community, and is your community educated in that, within the sort of Web3 world? So it's a very, the more I am, the more I've worked in Web3 and the more I've built Power of Women as a company. It's interesting because at the beginning, the market wasn't saturated. Now the market's saturated, but the market's not as abundant. I don't know, not the word abundant, but it's not as, bullish.
Right.
So it's I think, why are you here? What are you trying to learn? And I think then I sort of always point them in the right direction. But it's interesting because I think there are still people doing interesting things. There are still places to learn new things, and regardless of what the market is like, the technology is here to stay, and we know that. And we know that it's going to explode at some point. Whether the masses know that it's going to be Web3 technology behind all of, all of the sort of consuming that they do, I think that's really up to the people who are building. But as an artist, I think, in terms of provenance, like, the fact that blockchain technology can provide, immutable provenance, that's just such a huge pain point in the art world. And at the moment, the traditional art world has not caught up to the idea that, this can really solve a massive thing within their industry, because provenance is such a difficult thing to sort of like discover, especially with all masters. So yeah, it's a very interesting space, especially because it's not a bull market.
Right. And I was going to ask you, because like anybody who's been in the space for now a few years has experienced the highs, the lows, and everything in between, right? And we're seeing right now, as of the recording of the show, is the beginning inclination of some sort of activity coming back, and the entire space coming back to life, I would say. But I'd love to hear from you, like, what do you think the future of NFTs? I think for anybody who's been in NFTs has the same question, and I want to hear from you. Like, where do you think the future of NFTs is going? Like, what is an NFT? What does it mean? What it meant to us 2 years ago, I anticipate will be different. I would love to hear from you where you think this space is going.
Ooh, interesting. So I think that I think this technology is to stay. Like the blockchain technology, the technology of NFTs, I think it's all going to stay, but in what form, I don't know. I think it's in the process of going through a big rebrand. I think in the future we'll be talking about NFTs, but not calling it NFTs, because NFTs have had a bad flag, and it's consistently been getting bad press. I think we are really in the hands of big brands, because while we're not seeing that being publicized, we are seeing big brands coming in like ADIDAS, Man City, Mercedes. All of these big brands are coming in, but they're not advertising that they're coming in. And the way that they are selling their NFTs to their community, they're calling it digital artworks or digital collectibles or whatever. And I think, for them, this is a great way to, be able to see how their community consumes. And I think what will happen is that the masses might not know that they're using Web3 technology. They might just see that, like, oh, my consuming, the way that I consume goods or the way that I buy goods has become so efficient. It's so good. And how do they know that I collected this? Like, do you know what I mean? Everything seems more catered to me. And I think that's because of Web3 technology. But I think maybe they just won't know that actually all of this technology that people have been building, or people in this industry have been building over the last few years, are going to just make that experience better, the way that we connect with the people who are providing goods to us. And I think that is something that is it's going to be in big brands, but it's also, I think, for artists as well. It's how we communicate with our community and go, actually, my community loves this aspect of my artwork. I'm going to give more of that. And I think it's really sort of reshaped the way that we communicate with our community. And I think that is to stay. I think we might not call it Web3, or we might not call it NFTs, I think, but the way this shift in sort of like not having, this shift in the way that we communicate with our community, and the way that we can be entrepreneurial without being, what is it called? Like gated. It's not, that we have ownership over our own products or our own artwork, being able to not rely on the fact that we have to have agents or gallerists to sell our artworks. I think that's here to stay.
I want to make sure that we talk about your latest launch, which is The Wolf of Wall Street, in collaboration with Lala. I love these. I think they're so cool. Just making sure that it's sharing my screen here so you can see The Wolf of Wall Street, and there's a different collection. Yours is this one here.
Yes, it is. Yeah, no, this has been really,
So
really
tell us a
awesome
little
to
bit
do.
about this.
Yeah. Well, Lala approached me, a couple of months ago to basically be part of their second drop. So Lala is they're a company who have basically negotiated the Wolf of Wall Street IP to produce official Wolf of Wall Street merchandise, and basically be able to use their IP to sell official merch and official artworks, and for this artwork to be on the blockchain. So it's been really, really cool. And I think, in a space that is full of like, scams and FUD, I think it's really like, I can't like shout about Lala enough in terms of what they're trying to do to, that they've done everything in the proper channels, obtaining the IP, being able to launch, official merch. This is I think this is so great for the space. And basically what you do is when you purchase an artwork, this is part of Drop 002, which is Naomi Anta's The Chat. So exciting because Margot Robbie is having a phenomenal year this year.
Right. Yeah. Good timing.
The timing is good. But yeah, it's been really cool. They've had 5 different female artists representing Naomi in 5 different scenes. And when you purchase this NFT, which each of them are $99, there's 200 editions of each, but you get a free framed print and a free t-shirt with this artwork on it, plus access to like unseen parts of the movie.
Oh, fun.
Cool.
And also like token gated parts of the Discord and discounts on all of their official merch. So it's really, really cool. Such a cool project to be on. And also like, the fact that we have, to be able to commission, to have the, be able to use the Wolf of Wall Street IP, like as an artist, that's like mental, to have that sort of like connection to a Hollywood film, and to be able to do this within the Web3 world. I think it's such a good thing for the space.
That's
I
so
love
cool.
it.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for being here today, and super excited for everything that you have going on. I want to make sure and tell everybody who's listening or watching to go check out your website, powerofwoman.io, and you can find everything that you have going on there. What is the best way to keep up to date with what you have happening? Is that X or
Everything.
Instagram,
So, well, X, I'm on X as Power of Women Art, on Instagram with Power of Women Art, but also you can subscribe to my emails, newsletter, Power of Women newsletter through our website, and you can be up to date without feeling like the algorithm maybe is not showing you the kind of things that you want to be shown. So that's also an option. But yeah, it's really exciting stuff. And can I just share something that is coming in the works?
Of course. Do
Yes.
it.
Well, so we're
Ditch.
shifting a little bit away from Web3, but Power of Women is going to have its like little mini boutique fashion line, which is going to have some of my prints on it. So I'm really, really excited for this. So this is coming soon. We're in mid-process now.
That's awesome.
That's
I can't
so
wait
exciting.
to see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. So definitely, go check out the website, subscribe, follow, do all those things. And we will have links to all of your stuff in the show notes, which you can find at the NiFTyChicks.io. Thank you, Leah. And I guess we'll just, all keep FOMOing over Art Basel and just have to, live vicariously through everybody's posts.
Yeah, me too. But thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad that the stars aligned and we could all be here together.
I know, me too.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Well, I hope everyone really enjoyed that interview with Leah Sams. I just think she's amazing, and I really love the artwork that Power of Women has out there and that Leah's done. I hope you guys all go take a look at that and possibly purchase something if it suits your desires. So I just want to say thanks for listening to the NiFTy Chicks. Remember to invest in yourself. You are worth it.
Please listen carefully to the following disclaimer. Neither the host nor the guests of the NiFTy Chicks podcast are acting in the capacity of financial advisors. We wish to remain transparent and impartial to the NFT community at all times, and therefore, the content provided by the NiFTy Chicks hosts and guests are intended for general information purposes only. Nothing written or discussed by the NiFTy Chicks hosts and guests should be construed or relied upon as investment, financial, legal, regulatory, accounting, tax, or similar advice. Nothing should be interpreted as a solicitation to invest in any cryptocurrency or NFT, and nothing herein should be construed as a recommendation to engage in any investment strategy or transaction. Please be advised that it is in your own best interest to consult with investment, legal, tax, or similar professionals regarding any specific situation and any prospective transaction decisions. You must do your own research when considering investing in cryptocurrencies or NFTs. We are simply sharing our journey with you as we learn more about the world of NFTs. Happy minting.